Welcome to another deep dive. Imagine you're right here with us, maybe strolling down a bustling street somewhere in China, perhaps grabbing a quick snack, while we unpack a really huge topic today.
Sounds good. Lots to cover.
Absolutely. Today, for the DragonCruiser deep dive, we're looking at China's, well, incredibly ambitious high-speed rail network and its whole journey of going global. It's a massive part of the Belt and Road Initiative.
It really is central.
And it's not just about, tracks and trains. It's about connections, huge ambition, and honestly navigating a super complex world.
Definitely complex.
So our mission here is to pull out the most important insights from the sources we've got, looking at the opportunities, some surprising facts, and also the often overlooked conditions that different countries are putting on these giant projects.
Yeah, those conditions are key.
We're drawing on some pretty comprehensive reports, detailed studies on things like the Hungary-Serbia Railway, and the broader picture of China's high-speed rail plans. It's a bit like trying to understand this whole street market from just one fortune cookie. But don't worry, we'll piece it together for you.
We'll give it our best shot.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We hear this phrase a lot, China's high-speed rail going global. What exactly is that all about? Is it really just about connecting places faster?
Well, it's layered, right? The Belt and Road Initiative, the BRI, is the big umbrella. China's domestic high-speed rail story since, 2008, it's been absolutely phenomenal.
The scale is incredible.
It really is. They've built over 48,000 kilometers. That's by far the largest network anywhere in the world. And this wasn't just throwing money around. It involved huge technological leaps.
Like that new train they're testing.
Exactly. The CR450 prototype. It's designed for 400 kilometers per hour. They're aiming for commercial operation, get this, as early as next year, 2025.
Wow. Okay, so domestically, they're world leaders. How does that translate globally?
So the strategic objectives are pretty clear. There's the economic development angle, obviously fostering trade, creating new economic corridors. That's core BRI stuff.
Makes sense.
But it's also, a major statement about technological leadership. They're showcasing their own trains, the CRH, China Rail High-Speed Series, and their advanced signaling tech. They want to establish Chinese standards as kind of the go-to globally.
And here's where it gets really interesting for you listening. You might think, okay, faster trains in Hungary, why is that my business? But look, this is bigger than commutes.
Much bigger.
It's about shifting geopolitical influence, much deeper economic integration between countries, and literally redrawing the map for global infrastructure.
Yes.
These aren't just tracks. They're linking economies, cultures. It has ripple effects everywhere.
That's a good way to put it.
Speaking of those global ambitions, we absolutely have to talk about the Hungary-Serbia Railway.
Yeah.
It gets held up a lot, doesn't it, as the sort of poster child for China's HSR push in Europe.
It does. It's probably the most high-profile project in that region.
But has it actually been a smooth ride? Or is it maybe a bit more complicated?
Well, smooth ride might be generous. It's definitely complicated. The project connects Belgrade in Serbia to Budapest in Hungary. The main goal is pretty ambitious. Cut travel time from about 8 hours down to just 2 hours and 40 minutes.
That's a huge difference.
Massive. The whole line is roughly 350 kilometers. But the speeds aren't uniform. It's planned for 160 kilometers per hour in Hungary and 200 in Serbia.
Okay, and the cost? There have been some wild numbers thrown around.
Yeah, that's caused a lot of confusion. The actual estimated total cost for this project is around $2.8 billion, not the $4 billion sometimes mentioned just for this line, and definitely not the $40 billion figure that likely refers to, China's total regional HSR investment plans, not just this one railway.
Got it. $2.8 billion. And China's financing most of it.
That's right. China is providing about 85% of the financing, mainly through 20-year loans. Serbia's chunk of that is around $1.6 billion, for example.
85% is substantial. So how's the actual construction going? Are the trains running?
Progress has been, eventful.
Yeah.
The Serbian section from Belgrade to Novi Sad, that's about 75 kilometers, it did open, March 19th, 2022. So that part is running.
Okay, it's success there.
Yes. But the next Serbian bit, Novi Sad-Subotica, another 108 kilometers or so. That started construction in April 2022. The original plan was completion in 2024.
Yeah.
Now it's looking more like the first quarter of 2025. There have been delays, issues like expanding the Novi Sad station took longer than expected, and the Hungarian section is also still under construction, also aiming for 2025.
So delays. Yeah. Any other issues? You mentioned complications.
Oh, yeah. Significant cost overruns, for one. Serbia's initial estimate was around 1.3 billion, but it's ballooned closer to 2.6 billion for their part.
Doubled. Wow.
Pretty much. Then there are safety concerns. There have been incidents reported at the Novi Sad station, which are apparently under investigation. And zooming out, the whole project has attracted a lot of scrutiny from the EU.
Over what specifically?
Things like financial transparency, the bidding process, and just the broader geopolitical implications, of a major China-funded infrastructure project right on the EU's doorstep. It definitely complicates EU-China relations. So, yeah, not just a straight line on a map at all.
So this one project, it really shows how these grand plans can run into some serious real-world complexities. It's not just engineering, it's finance, politics, safety, the works.
Absolutely. It's a microcosm of the larger challenges.
Which brings up a really important point. Are countries just sort of passively accepting these huge projects? Or are they pushing back, setting their own terms? It sounds like they have quite a bit to say.
Oh, they definitely do. It's fascinating, actually, how strategic these partner countries are becoming. They are absolutely not just taking whatever is offered anymore.
Like who? Give us an example.
Okay, take Serbia again. They've been really clear about demanding extensive technology transfer. We're talking maintenance skills, market access for Serbian companies, understanding the signaling systems, even local production of spare parts.
So building their own capabilities.
Exactly. Plus, strict requirements for local content using Serbian materials and workers protecting intellectual property and making sure everything adheres to EU or international standards. And importantly, they're pushing for more transparency on the debt side and more information sharing overall. It's a pretty comprehensive list.
That sounds like some serious negotiation. Anyone else?
Vietnam is another great example. Their focus is laser sharp on technology transfer to build up their own domestic railway industry. Look at the planned Hanoi-Dong Dong Railway, 391 kilometers, maybe starting 2025.
And are they succeeding with the tech transfer?
There are signs they are. Sources mention a Vietnamese company, Vinspeed, reportedly achieving a significant level of technology transfer around May 2025. It shows localization is possible. Vietnam's transport minister, Nguyen Hong Minh, even stated publicly how critical tech transfer and training local experts are for them. It's non-negotiable, basically.
Interesting. What about other regions?
Similar stories. India, for instance, pushed for technology training, getting local engineers and suppliers involved, and cost transparency. The Kolkata-Howrah HSR line, which opened in October 2023, is an example where these factors were likely negotiated.
Okay.
Thailand, too, for their big Thailand-China Railway project, they're pushing for financial support, developing local industry, jobs for Thais, and favorable loan terms. That one's partially opening in 2028.
Right.
And Malaysia, with the East Coast Rail Link, that's a huge $17 billion project due in 2027, they've demanded really detailed environmental studies, comprehensive tech support, and significant training for local workers.
So the trend is clear. Countries aren't just signing on the dotted line for a shiny new train. They want skills, jobs, local benefits, long-term value.
Precisely.
Turns out you can't just drop off a high-speed train and expect a thank you note. There's some serious paperwork and serious negotiation involved first.
Yeah, quite a bit more than that. It shows a maturing relationship, I think. Countries are learning how to leverage these deals.
But it's not always successful, right? It can't always be smooth sailing, even with negotiations. What are the big bumps in the road, the major headwinds?
Absolutely. There are significant headwinds. One of the biggest is debt sustainability. I mean, the scale here is just immense.
How big are we talking?
Well, China Railway Corporation itself reportedly had debts hitting $6.2 trillion in 2024. That's over 63% of its assets. And think about the BRI lending overall. One Lowy Institute report projected China's global lending could hit $350 billion by 2025, with maybe $220 billion of that tied up specifically in BRI projects.
And HSR is a big chunk of that.
A major chunk. These projects are incredibly capital intensive. So naturally, this raises serious concerns, a whole debt trap narrative for the countries taking the loans, and it also puts a lot of pressure back on China's state-owned companies carrying that debt.
Okay, debt is huge. What else?
Geopolitics. Shifting alliances and tensions can completely derail projects. Look at the Philippines.
What happened there?
In February 2021, they canceled several China-funded rail projects. Reports directly link this decision to the escalating tensions over the South China Sea. Politics trumped infrastructure plans.
Right, a direct casualty of wider tensions.
Exactly. And Kenya provides another angle. They canceled the Mombasa-Nairobi HSR project in 2023. Now, Sources point more to political shifts within Kenya and funding challenges, not explicitly a debt trap situation based on the info we have, but it still shows how vulnerable these long-term projects are to changes in government or national priorities.
So political winds can shift quickly.
Very quickly. And then there are the environmental and social concerns. These can be deal breakers, too.
Any examples?
Sure. In Poland, the planned Krakow-Katowice line faced significant hurdles related to environmental impact. In Tanzania, the Dar es Salaam Mwanza project also saw pauses linked to environmental and social concerns. It just shows that local factors, community acceptance, environmental regulations, they really matter. You can't just impose these projects.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how these specific project issues, a delay here, a cancellation there, actually point to these bigger systemic challenges. Debt, geopolitics, local impacts. It's a complex web.
It really is. It shows the evolving landscape of global development.
So despite all these challenges, the debt, the politics, the local issues, what does the future actually look like for China's high-speed rail going global? Is the train still speeding ahead, or is it slowing down?
I'd say it's still moving forward, but maybe more cautiously, more strategically. We definitely expect continued expansion, particularly in Southeast Asia. You've got projects connecting Laos, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia. The vision of an interconnected regional network there is still very much alive.
And beyond Southeast Asia?
There's potential for new projects in Africa, too. Morocco and Algeria are often mentioned as possibilities, so the ambition is still there, but the approach seems more nuanced now.
And technologically, they're still pushing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That CR450 prototype we mentioned, aiming for commercial use in 2025 at 400 kilometers per hour. That's a huge technological statement. It keeps China highly competitive.
And they want their tech standards adopted globally.
Yes, that's a key long-term goal. They're actively promoting their own HSR technical standards, trying to position them as a viable, even preferable, alternative to the established European or Japanese standards. That's a big part of cementing their global influence in this sector.
But they're not the only players in town.
Not at all. Competition is fierce. Japan, South Korea, European companies like Siemens and Alstom, they are all major players in the global HSR market. They have strong track records and established relationships.
So China needs to keep adapting.
Definitely. They'll need to be increasingly flexible, more responsive to those country-specific demands we talked about, the tech transfer, the localization, if they want to keep winning these major contracts against strong competition.
So the path forward sounds, well, complex, dynamic, definitely requiring constant adaptation. Building the tracks is one challenge, but building those lasting, truly win-win partnerships, that seems like the bigger, more intricate puzzle.
That sums it up well.
Right, we have covered a lot of ground today, quite the deep dive into China's massive high-speed rail journey. We've seen how it's connecting continents, literally, but also hitting some serious bumps, those intricate local demands for tech and jobs, the huge questions around debt, and navigating tricky geopolitical currents. It really is a fascinating story of huge ambition meeting, well, reality.
And I think ultimately the long-term success of this whole going global strategy for China's high-speed rail, it might depend less on just the raw speed of the trains themselves
And more on
their ability to genuinely adapt, to understand and meet the diverse needs, navigate the really nuanced political and economic landscapes in every single partner country. It boils down to building real trust and mutual benefit, not just laying down steel tracks. That's the real challenge ahead.
That's a great final thought. Building trust, not just tracks. Okay, if you found this deep dive on the DragonCruiser insightful, definitely give us a like, leave a comment below, let us know what stood out to you. And of course, please subscribe for more deep dives into fascinating topics like this one. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.